Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be working on the wheels and I'm going to be swapping over and doing a wheel stud conversion. So I'll show you what we have over here. The car is currently jacked up and in the air. I'm just finishing up working on the coilovers right now and I'm waiting for a part. So that's why we're just going to move on to this so that way I know what I need to order for other stuff. So what we have here is we have some wheel stud to lug conversions. These I got from Modern Performance. These are definitely quality pieces here. Very nice. These are not any cheap wheel lugs that are going to go in the car. So these I have to go along with a pair of lug nuts that I picked up. These are the Moteki HR38s. So, and also these, the thread pattern is a M12 by 1.25. So that's the normal size that's used on the darts. So you can stick with that. That's a good size to use. I went with they make these in a couple different colors. These are gold, and because these are the 38s, these are 38 millimeters long. And then it also does have an opened end on this side here. So it's similar, it's basically a tuner lug. These are still steel. I went with steel just because they're a lot stronger than any of the aluminum lug nuts, and I didn't want to risk having my wheel fall off or anything like that. We're just gonna go ahead, we're gonna pop this wheel off and take these lug nuts out. I know I've already mentioned it previously, I cannot stand these wheel studs that come on these cars. It makes the wheel a pain in the ass to put on because you have to line everything up. Also, they always have a tendency to get stuck inside your socket when you're removing them, and once you get the last one off, the wheel just falls right off. So for that reason, we're getting rid of these and we're gonna switch over to these, which look a lot nicer and should be better for our application. What we're gonna do is I have some brake clean here. We're just gonna spray it into every single one of these threads. Make sure that they are nice and clean because we want that Loctite to make sure that it adheres properly. And then we'll take some compressed air, spray all these out to make sure that they are good to go. The one thing you'll notice, I'm just doing a side-by-side comparison of the stock lug bolt to the stud that I'm gonna be putting in, is this stud is significantly longer here. So what that's gonna allow us to do is, and what I plan to do, is run some spacers on this car so that way we can kick our wheel out a little bit more and get a nice even flush fitment with our fender. You wouldn't be able to run spacers on this bolt because it's not long enough and you're not going to have enough threads to tack into this to safely do that. So that's another reason why we're doing this. I'm installing these right now just with the car kind of in the air because I don't know what size spacers it is that I'm going to need yet. I have a couple of different ones to try out so I can kind of see how far it pushes it out. But I want to make sure that I do order the correct ones, so that's why we're doing a little bit of sizing. And it's also why we're going to end up throwing these in for right now. So now that these are all cleaned up and good to go, I will show you how to install our first set of these into this wheel. We'll take some of our blue thread locker here, and we're just going to put a strip of this thread locker on the short side, so the shorter threaded side. Give it a nice glob. You don't want to go too crazy with it, but definitely make sure you do have a generous amount on there. This is going to, when you thread this in, it's going to spread around. So we'll take it, put it in, and we'll tighten this up by hand to start with. Just like so. And then this does take a 5mm Allen key. So we have a 5mm here. And we're just going to tighten this up. Not too tight. We're going to torque it down. I'll go over the torque, but we're gonna get the rest of all these other ones in here, and then we'll torque these all down at the end. We'll torque all these down. We have the torque wrench out here with our socket on here, and These wheel studs did not come with any directions for the torque spec. Now I did look it up, and the range for doing these wheel stud kits is anywhere from 10 foot-pounds all the way up to about 25 foot-pounds. I'm gonna stick with 20 pounds, 20 foot-pounds. That's what I have my torque wrench set to. That seems like it's about decent. So we're gonna go ahead, we'll click every single one of these down, make sure they're all nice and evenly torqued. And if 20 foot-pounds feels good and about right, then we'll leave it at that. Here's the two spacers that I picked up just for sizing purposes. These are a pretty cheap spacer. They are the correct bolt pattern to fit on this, but these are just a cast aluminum, which I would not recommend running. They're just too cheap and lightweight. I would make sure to get a nice set of forged spacers. So I have a 10 millimeter here on the right, and then I have a 12 millimeter spacer here on the left. Let's go ahead, we're gonna try out the 10 millimeter first. We'll just put this on here. There are two sides to this, so you want this beveled edge side that you see right here to be facing out. So we'll find out where this fits on here. Okay, just like so. Put that on there. Now let's throw our wheel on and see how much this kicks it out. Here's the fitment. Still could come out a little bit more. These are only the 10 millimeters. Not too bad. You can see that those studs are so long, they're still poking through these lug nuts. So those are pretty darn long, and we definitely have quite a bit more room to run bigger spaces if we do so choose, which I do plan on going a little bit bigger than this by the looks of it. Let's jack this back up, and then we're gonna try out the 12 millimeter spacers on this and see where that puts it. 12 millimeter spacers now on. We just dropped it down. So here's where this one is at. Not too bad. This is actually starting to look pretty darn good. If you ask me, it is actually right about flush with that fender right now. It's pretty dang close. It's about what I'm looking for. It could come out a little bit more. It looks like there is some camber in it that you can see. That wheel is definitely tilted in a little bit. Probably like to go a little bit more with the spacer. I think I plan on going with a 15 millimeter. I kind of knew that going in, but I just figured I had these, I would kind of see what they would look like. So now that I know, I'm probably gonna get some 15 millimeter spacers ordered up for this. I think that'll be the perfect combo, and it should pretty much basically fill up the rest of the stud right here. These will allow up to a 20 millimeter spacer to be used if you did not know. And these, like I said, these are the ones from Modern Performance. So 15 millimeter, that'll leave plenty of meat on the bone for us to run this combo that we're running here. I just got the rear all put together. We got the studs on there, the lugs on there, good to go. I threw on the 12 millimeter spacer to start, so that way we would match the one that we have on the front right now. And this is the fitment that we do have. So it is not quite poke, but it is pretty darn close. I would say it is right about almost flush with that fender. The rear is also showing a little bit of camber, so a negative camber pushing the wheel kind of at an angle. But I think the 12 millimeter looks pretty dang good in the rear, in my opinion. I'll show you it from the back side here. So this is what it looks like. Not too bad at all. I'll probably end up going with a 15 millimeter spacer in the rear as well, just so that way we match what we're gonna do in the front. I think that 15 is pretty much a decent way to go. I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but these wheels that I have, the Mopar lightweight wheels, these are the size for these is an 18 by 8, and the offset is a plus 41 for these wheels. Now, basically, looking at the fitment on these, anything with an offset of around 30 millimeter offset is going to be pretty much about flush with the actual fender itself. So because I'm running a 40 millimeter spacer and then a 12 millimeter offset, that's gonna put me right around 30 millimeters right now, which is where I'm at. and it's about flush. So that is pretty accurate. I'm gonna go to 15. I think that'll make it just a little bit more even. So that's what the plan is. I'm gonna get those ordered. I'll order the 15mm spacers for this. We should pretty much be set. I finally did just receive some spacers for this car that I do plan on running for this. I know previously I mentioned I was gonna go with 15mm. I think that would have been an awesome setup for this, giving this the perfect stance that I was looking for. However, it did not work out that way. Just the price of the 15mm spacers for the front was just gonna be too much for what I thought it was worth, and just for me to get, I ended up going with 12mm spacers just because it was the cheapest option and best bang for buck in my opinion. So that's what we have here. I just purchased a kit of them, so I have just a set of 4. These are good quality ones. They're not cheap cast aluminum ones like the ones that I previously had just for testing fitment. So we're gonna run these on the car. I just went around the car and I've installed these wheel spacers on every single wheel of the car now. So this is going to be the stance that we're gonna have. So this is the 12mm all the way around. This is, it's almost flush, but not quite. It's pretty close. Looks like there is already some camber on this wheel here. It's an appropriate stance for it. I like it. Come over here, show you this side. So same thing over here. I do actually like the 12mm on the rears. I think if I was gonna go any less that it wouldn't look nearly as good as it does, but it doesn't poke out. I'd say the fronts poke out more if anything, but nonetheless it does look good. That's gonna be a wrap for this video for the wheel stud conversion kit and also the wheel spacers. Make sure to like and subscribe.